Hello everyone. In this advanced vocabulary lesson, I'm going to talk about the C1 phrase, a moot point. Now, I think this is a really interesting and useful phrase, but whether or not you use it in your active English is a moot point in itself. So what does it mean? What is a moot point? Well, that question actually has two answers, because a moot point has two different meanings depending on whether you're using British English or American English. So first of all, let's start with the British English meaning. So a moot point in British English refers to a subject which is open to argument. It's debatable. It's something that people can't really agree on. And in fact, there is no answer, or it's so difficult to find the answer that it's basically a waste of time continuing the argument. When you're discussing something or arguing about something with a friend and you realize the argument's not going anywhere because you're never going to know the answer or the solution, you can just say, well, it's a moot point anyway. Okay, what about the American English meaning? Well, that just basically means that it's irrelevant. A moot point in American English is something that is irrelevant or of no importance. So as you can see, the two meanings are quite different. So it can be quite confusing to know what exactly the speaker is trying to say, especially if you're not sure if the speaker is using British English or American English. But it's usually quite clear from the context, like most vocabulary, the meaning of most vocabulary, it's usually quite clear. However, in this case, it can be confusing sometimes. So if you're in doubt, you may need to ask the speaker to clarify what they mean. But let's have a look at a few examples. So first of all, we're going to look at two examples of moot point using the British English meaning. So the first example, whether English exams are really useful for improving a student's English level is a moot point. So in that case, what we're saying here is that whether English exams are useful is debatable. It's open to argument. You can argue about it, but it's very difficult to find a definitive answer. Some people think English exams are useful for improving students' levels. Some people think they're not. But unless you really go through all the studies and research over many years, it's very, very difficult to find a definitive answer, if not impossible. So it's a moot point. Another example, how long the Prime Minister will remain in office is a moot point. So yeah, maybe there's a new Prime Minister. In fact, there is in Britain at the moment, relatively new. And maybe the questions are, how long do you think he will last? How long will he remain in office? You can debate it, you can argue it, but at the end of the day, it's a moot point because nobody knows. So it's kind of a waste of time even talking about it. Okay, let's look at a couple of American English examples with moot point now. I think she would have passed the exam if she'd taken it last month. It's a moot point now anyway. Okay, so I'm saying I think she would have passed the exam. So this is hypothetical, it's the third conditional. But we don't know because she didn't take the exam. So it's a moot point, it's irrelevant. It's of no importance because she didn't take the exam. So in some ways, it's similar to the British English meaning in that in the end, it's not really worth talking about because in this case, it's irrelevant. And in the case of the British English meaning, it's debatable, it's open to argument, and there's no real solution. Another example with the American English meaning, if I won the lottery, I would buy a beach house, but I never buy a ticket, so it's a moot point. Again, this is hypothetical. You can dream about what you would do if you won the lottery, but if you don't even buy a ticket, it's completely irrelevant and of no importance. It's not that you can't speak about these things, it's just that you're recognizing by saying it's a moot point, you're saying it's irrelevant. One more thing I should say about moot point is regarding the pronunciation. It is moot, not to be confused with the word mute. Now, they are different words, different spellings, but also different pronunciation. Now, some people don't notice or can't tell the difference between the pronunciation, but here with moot point, it's moot. So imagine a cow, moot. But when you silence your mobile phone, for example, or silence your computer, it's to mute. So it has that mute, that extra sound. As always, think of your own examples, put them in the comments if you like, and I look forward to seeing you very soon for another video.